Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Grant Writing for Small Nonprofits, Strategies to Compete with the Big Players. My name is Melanie Lambert, and I am Managing Director of Just Write Grants. It is my absolute pleasure to be with you here today, and I'm thrilled to guide you through this important topic. If you have ever felt like your small nonprofit is at a disadvantage when applying for grants, you are not alone. Larger organizations often have dedicated grant teams, bigger budgets, a history of receiving major funding, but that doesn't mean that your nonprofit can't compete and win. Today, we're going to explore practical, proven strategies to help your grant proposal stand out, even in a highly competitive field. Before we dive in, and as people are joining us still, I'd like you to take a moment to introduce yourself in our chat. Let me know your name, what nonprofit you represent, kind of give yourself a little plug there. And if you'd like to share where you're from, I always love that. That's one of my favorite parts. I am in Northwest Georgia, in the beautiful city of Cartersville. And if you'd like, I'd love to know if there's one key challenge you face in grant writing right now or at any point in your career that's just kind of been a sticking point or a speed bump for you. That might help me as we're talking today. I might be able to address it for you, or it's something I can follow up with you after the presentation and we can chat offline. So I see some folks are joining us today. Good morning, Rhonda. Hey, Anna. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining me. Hey, Christy, my friend. Good to see you. Thank you so much. I hope that this is helpful for you today. Hey, Tracy, Presidential Precinct. Hey, Cynthia from West Virginia. An animal rescue pet pantry. That is fascinating. Pet pantry. I think that's probably an often overlooked need. Great. Hey, Debbie from Idaho. Hey, Samantha, great to see you. Thank you for joining us from the Glass House Resource Center in Tyler, Texas. That sounds wonderful. Hi, Diane. Hey, Lauren. Thank you all so much. I'm from Chattanooga. Not too far at all. I often describe when people sometimes in Atlanta, people will kind of give me the raised eyebrow of where's Cartersville? And I will tell them that we're kind of smack dab in between Atlanta and Chattanooga. And then, they realize that, hey, Caroline, it's good to see you. Thank you for always attending my webinars and being so supportive of me. I saw somebody in Revere, Massachusetts. My family is originally from Beverly, so not too far from you. Hi, Katie. Good morning. Thank you all so much for joining me. I'm going to jump back over to our content, but please continue to share with me your name, where you're from, and your nonprofit. And again, Jan, thank you, Jan. Steep speed bump of being new. Can't get support without proven impact. Well, I'm going to hopefully help you with some of that here today. And if not, then feel free to send me an email. I'll share my contact information throughout. And then we can, hopefully help overcome that for you. But I've got some actionable steps that we can take for that today. That's the whole purpose of today, right? Thank you all so much for sharing that. And also letting me know that the chat function is working well today. All right. So hi, Vanny. Saw your email. All right, so I'm going to turn my camera off because I tend to distract myself with it, and nobody needs that this morning. So we're going to jump right in here. But please, as I said, continue with, hey, Teresa, good to see you. All right. So now that we're all settled in or starting to get settled in, let's take a look at what you can expect to learn today. Grant writing can be a tough playing field, especially for small nonprofits that are up against well-established organizations with more resources. But today we're going to break down exactly how you can level the playing field and position your nonprofit for success. First, we're going to understand the unique challenges that small nonprofits face in grant writing, and even new ones. We'll discuss common obstacles from limited staff and funding to competition with larger organizations and how to navigate them effectively. We'll go over key strategies for crafting compelling proposals that resonate with funders. You'll learn how to tell a powerful story, how to align with funder priorities, and make your application stand out. And we're going to talk about how to leverage your nonprofit's strengths to compete with larger organizations. We'll explore ways to highlight what makes your organization unique and how to turn your size into an advantage. By the end of this webinar, you'll have a clear roadmap to strengthen your grant proposals and increase your chances of securing funding. Plus, I've got a surprise bonus. I will share with you our grant writing success checklist for small nonprofits. It's an instant download that you can get today, and it's going to help you take actionable steps right now. So get ready to take notes. We are recording this, so you will get an email tomorrow with the slides as well as the recorded presentation. But also bring your questions. We'll have Q&A at the end. And I'm here to help make sure that you leave with practical, actionable insights that you can put to use right away. So before we dive in any deeper, let me just take a moment, introduce myself and Just Right Grants for those of you who may not be familiar with us. I'm managing director of Just Right Grants, and I have years of experience helping small nonprofits secure the funding they need to thrive. My team and I have written winning grant proposals that have resulted in millions of dollars in funding. I truly love helping nonprofits navigate the challenges of grant writing and sharing my experience and understanding of what funders look for in grant applications and helping them win grant funding no matter their size. My company, Just Right Grants, is a virtual grant writing company dedicated to helping small to mid-sized organizations navigate the grant writing process with confidence. We specialize in crafting compelling proposals, developing winning strategies, and equipping nonprofits with the tools they need to secure the funding that fuels their mission. Now, we're going to cover a lot of information today, so you might end up thinking, this all sounds great, but where will I find the time to implement it? If that's the case, I encourage you to reach out to me directly and schedule an introductory call. During our call, we'll provide 30 minutes of customized grant research tailored to your organization, helping you gain clarity on the best next steps for your grant writing efforts. You'll get actionable insights based on your mission and your programs, so you can move forward with confidence knowing it's the right time to invest in grant writing expertise. Our affordable grant writing subscriptions have helped dozens of nonprofits raise millions of dollars since 2017, and I would be really excited to share that same unique approach with you. My contact information is here on the screen now, and I'm also going to provide it at the end of the session and in our follow-up emails, so you'll have a plethora of ways to get in touch with me. Now, let's dive back into our topic and continue exploring how you can elevate your grant writing. So as a small nonprofit, you are no stranger to the unique hurdles that come with securing funding. While your organization is doing important work, navigating the grant writing process can often feel like an uphill battle. Let's take a closer look at some of the key challenges that nonprofits face when applying for grants. First, limited resources. Many small nonprofits operate with lean teams, meaning that staff often juggle multiple responsibilities. This can make it difficult to allocate the time needed to craft competitive, high-quality proposals. Competition with larger organizations. Those larger nonprofits with their dedicated grant writing teams, long-standing relationships with funders, and high brand recognition often seem like formidable competitors. It's easy to feel like small nonprofits are at a disadvantage in the face of such competition. And then the lack of data or track record, and this ties back to being new as well. Funders frequently prioritize organizations with strong data and proven outcomes. For newer or smaller nonprofits without a long history or extensive data, establishing credibility and demonstrating impact can be a significant hurdle. But here's the good news. These challenges are not impossible to overcome. Throughout this webinar, we'll discuss practical strategies to help you turn these obstacles into opportunities. If you have other challenges and obstacles that we didn't talk about on this slide, feel free to drop those in the chat. Maybe somebody that's joining us today has overcome that, found a workaround that can provide some insight, or I'm happy to talk to you about it as well. So now the exciting part. While these challenges may seem tough, they are by no means insurmountable. In fact, small nonprofits have unique strengths that can actually make you more competitive in the grant application process. Let's examine how you can turn what seem like disadvantages into clear advantages. First, agility and innovation. Unlike larger organizations with complex structures, small nonprofits are often more nimble. You can quickly adapt to community needs, experiment with new ideas, and demonstrate your innovative approach, something that funders love. Deep community connections. Many small nonprofits are deeply embedded in their communities, and you likely have personal relationships with the people you serve. These connections give you authentic, firsthand stories of impact that resonate with funders. Grassroots support. While large nonprofits may have that national recognition, small nonprofits often boast passionate local support. Whether it's through volunteers, community partnerships, or word-of-mouth advocacy, small nonprofits can demonstrate broad community backing. Next, a more personal and compelling mission. Your nonprofit story is powerful. Smaller organizations can offer deeply personal, emotionally compelling narratives that often connect funders on a human level. And lastly, collaboration over competition. Rather than trying to outcompete larger organizations, consider collaboration. Partnering with other nonprofits or organizations can make your proposal stronger and demonstrate a united approach to solving community challenges. As we move forward, we'll dive into how you can highlight these strengths in your grant proposals and stand out from larger organizations. Small nonprofits absolutely have the ability to win big grants. You just need the right strategies. So the first and most important strategy for standing out is telling your unique story. As a smaller nonprofit, you have a powerful asset, your authentic, community-driven narrative that often resonates deeply with funders. While larger organizations may have established recognition, funders are ultimately looking for real, tangible impact. This is where your organization can shine, showing the difference you make in ways that larger, more impersonal entities simply can't. So how do you make your story stand out? First, highlight your origin story. Was your nonprofit founded to meet a specific unmet need in your community? Funders connect with organizations born out of passion and necessity. Share your origins to establish a compelling foundation. Share real people and real impact. Instead of focusing solely on numbers, bring your story to life with personal testimonials. For example, rather than saying, "We served 500 families," share the story of one family whose life was transformed by your program. Next, emphasize your grassroots approach. Highlight how your nonprofit is actively embedded in the community, building relationships and responding quickly to local needs. This direct impact is something larger organizations may struggle to match. Next, differentiate from larger organizations. We talk about this with our clients all the time. It's one of the first questions I ask them. What makes your organization unique? Maybe you provide culturally specific services, personalized support, or programs that focus on hyper-local needs. Be clear about what sets you apart. And lastly, use emotional and visual storytelling. Funders read a lot of proposals. The ones that stand out often feature compelling stories that evoke emotion. Use impactful language, visuals, or videos when possible to make your narrative unforgettable. Your nonprofit story is one of its strongest assets. Use it to connect with funders emotionally. Now let's move on to our next strategy. Another crucial way to stand out is by emphasizing your deep community relationships. While larger nonprofits may have far-reaching impact, your strength lies in your local community-based connections. Funders are looking for organizations that truly understand and are deeply engaged with the people they serve. By showcasing these relationships, you demonstrate why your nonprofit is uniquely positioned to create lasting, meaningful impact. So how do you highlight these community relationships? First, leverage community testimonials. Use voices from the community to amplify your impact. Quotes from program participants or local leaders add authenticity to your proposal. For example, a testimonial from a family that benefited from your program speaks louder than any statistics. Next, showcase local partnerships. Funders appreciate collaboration. You're going to see that highlighted throughout this webinar. You should highlight your partnerships with schools, local businesses, other nonprofits, or faith-based organizations to show that your work is supported by the community. Use engagement data. Numbers are important. I know we've kind of downplayed them a little bit here and focused a lot on stories and impact, but the numbers are still important. Share your data like volunteer participation rates, community event attendance to demonstrate strong grassroots support. So for example, you could say 80% of our volunteers are local residents. Next, demonstrate specialized knowledge. Highlight your nonprofit's expertise in addressing the specific challenges of your community. Funders appreciate organizations with tailored approaches to cultural or community-specific issues. We often come across grant applications that ask the question, in other terms, what qualifies your organization or qualifies your staff or your CEO or your program manager to offer this solution? And so it's important to highlight that. Finally, highlight your ability to respond quickly. Small nonprofits are often able to react faster to local crises. If your organization has mobilized quickly to address a community need, like a natural disaster, make sure to showcase this ability to provide immediate support. Funders want to invest in organizations that have strong, authentic ties to the community that they serve. By showcasing your deep local engagement, you position your nonprofit as a credible and impactful candidate for funding. Collaborating with others is another powerful way to compete with larger organizations. While you may not have the same financial or staffing resources, partnerships allow you to extend your reach, pool resources, and create greater impact. Funders are increasingly looking for collaborations that strengthen programs and extend reach. Working with others demonstrates that your nonprofit is resourceful, well-connected, and capable of executing projects effectively. So how do you leverage these partnerships? Form alliances with complementary organizations. For example, if your nonprofit focuses on after-school tutoring, a partnership with a local food bank could create a more holistic program. Next, partner with schools or educational institutions. Schools can be great partners for programs aimed at children and families. By working with local schools, you demonstrate that your programs are embedded in the community and supported by trusted institutions. Engage local businesses. Look for sponsorships, in-kind donations, or employee volunteer programs. Local businesses that support your mission are a sign of strong community backing. Work with government agencies and community groups. Forming alliances with city agencies or community coalitions adds credibility to your work. For example, a partnership with a local health department could strengthen your proposal if your organization addresses health disparities. And lastly, use letters of support. Whenever possible, provide letters of support from your partners. These validate your work and show funders that others believe in your mission. Leveraging partnerships helps expand your nonprofit's impact and builds your credibility with funders, demonstrating that your work is sustainable and well supported. Being transparent and using data effectively is another strategy for competing successfully, especially for small nonprofits. Funders are looking for measurable outcomes, and while you may not have large-scale studies or decades of data, you can still present meaningful results. Transparency and data-driven proposals build credibility and show funders that you understand your impact and are committed to continuous improvement. So how do you use transparency and data? First, you want to highlight key metrics. Even smaller organizations can track measurable success. Examples include numbers of individuals served, your program effectiveness, things like employment success rate or academic improvement, and your volunteer participation rates. Next, pair data with success stories. We've talked about this a couple times already, but combining your data with personal stories to humanize your impact is important. For example, share how one individual benefited from your program to give context to those numbers. Show growth over time. Demonstrate your nonprofit's progress. Even if you're newer, showing that you've grown or expanded your impact is a strong indicator of sustainability. Be honest about challenges. Transparency isn't just about sharing successes. It's also about acknowledging challenges and showing how you're addressing them. We see that question a lot recently is, what are the key challenges your organization faces? And what they're really looking for is how are you going to overcome those challenges, not kind of a dumping ground for the speed bumps that you face, but how are you being resilient to those challenges and how are you planning to move forward and address them? Lastly, use visuals. Use graphs or charts to present your data in an easy to understand format. This will help funders quickly assess your impact. By being transparent and data-driven, you strengthen your proposal and position your nonprofit as a credible, results-oriented organization. If today's session has sparked new insights and confidence in your grant writing skills, I have an exciting opportunity I want to share with you. I would love to personally invite you to join our grant writing bootcamp. It's a game-changing program designed to take your grant writing expertise even further. This intensive program is perfect for nonprofit professionals who want to go beyond the basics. Whether you're looking to refine your storytelling, crafting compelling funder-centric proposals, or build lasting relationships with grant makers, the bootcamp provides strategies, tools, and confidence to help you succeed. So here's why the program is a must for anyone serious about increasing their grant writing success. It includes advanced training. So we go beyond the fundamentals with expert-led modules covering proven strategies and insider techniques. You get professional guidance. You learn directly from experienced grant writers who have helped secure millions in funding. You get exclusive resources, templates, checklists, and tools, all designed to streamline your grant writing process. Plus, members get a special discount to GrantStation, one of the industry's leading grant research databases. It's one of my favorites. You get community support, so you get connected with a network of like-minded professionals to exchange ideas, get feedback, and stay motivated. And it's completely flexible. It's designed to fit into your schedule with on-demand content you can access anytime, anywhere. And because you joined today's webinar, I have a special offer for you. As a thank you for being here, you can save 25% on the already affordable membership cost for our Grant Writing Bootcamp. Just use promo code webinar at checkout to unlock this exclusive discount. Invest in yourself, your skills, and the future of your nonprofit. Don't let the momentum from today's session fade. Seize this opportunity to level up your grant writing. But hurry, this is only available for a limited time. You can visit the link that's on your screen right now to secure your spot. And I can't wait to see the impact you'll make with your grant writing success. Now let's get back to our next strategy. One of the most important strategies you can employ is to align your proposal with the funder's mission. Funders aren't just looking for well-written applications. They want to support organizations that truly reflect their values and goals. Your job is to make sure and make clear why your nonprofit is the perfect fit for their funding priorities. While larger organizations may submit more generic one-size-fits-all proposals, your ability to tailor your application specifically to the funder's mission will set you apart. Show them how your work aligns with their goals and how their funding will create a real, measurable impact. So how do you align your proposal with the funder's mission? First, research the funder thoroughly. Before writing your proposal, take the time to study the funder's website, their past grant, their mission statement, and their funding priorities. Look at the specific types of projects they funded before and the language they use to describe their goals. Then use the funder's language in your proposal. Mirror the words and themes the funder emphasizes. If a foundation focuses on educational equity, use that phrase in your proposal instead of just saying improving education. This helps demonstrate that your mission and work naturally align with theirs. Highlight direct mission alignment. Explicitly connect your nonprofit's goals to the funder's priorities. For example, if a funder prioritizes environmental sustainability and you run a community garden program, emphasize how your program reduces food insecurity while promoting sustainable practices. If a funder supports workforce development and your nonprofit provides job training, explain how your program helps participants gain skills and secure stable employment. Next, customize each proposal. Avoid submitting that generic proposal. Even if you apply for multiple grants, I know it's tempting, but tailor each proposal to the specific funder. A strong application will make it clear why this particular funder is the right match for your work. Next, demonstrate the funder's impact through your work. Funders want to see how their investment will make a difference. Show them exactly how their grant will help your nonprofit achieve specific outcomes. For example, you could say, with this funding, we will expand our mentorship program to serve 50 additional at-risk youth, directly addressing your foundation's goal of improving educational outcomes for underserved communities. Next, reference the funder's past giving. If the funder has supported similar programs before, mention it. So for example, we admire your foundation's commitment to early childhood education as demonstrated by your recent support of XYZ nonprofit. Our literacy program builds on this mission by providing one-on-one reading interventions to struggling students. Finally, show a long-term connection. Funders like to invest in organizations that align with their goals for the long run. If possible, outline how your nonprofit's work contributes to lasting systemic change rather than just short-term impact. By taking the time to align your proposal with the funder's mission, you demonstrate that your organization is a natural fit for their support. This approach makes your application stand out and significantly increases your chances of securing funding. Now let's move on to our next strategy. Let's talk about how to write a winning proposal. One that will capture the attention of funders and increase your chances of success. A strong proposal is one that is clear, concise, and compelling. One that speaks directly to the funder's priorities and makes a strong case for your organization. So how do you do that? First, be clear and concise. Clarity is key. Funders read many proposals, so you want yours to be easy to follow and straightforward. Use a simple structure with headings, bullet points, and clear sections so the reader can quickly understand your goals and how to plan to achieve them. So for example, instead of writing long, dense paragraphs, break the content down into manageable sections like introduction, need statement, goals and objectives, program plan, and evaluation. This format helps funders navigate your proposal with ease. And here's a tip. Avoid using jargon or technical language that may confuse or alienate the reader. For instance, if you're describing a new educational program, explain it in simple terms instead of using complex sector-specific acronyms or terminology. Next, we've talked about this one, but it's important to demonstrate that you've thoroughly read the funder's guidelines and are fully aligned with their priorities. And you do this by using their language. You use the same terms and the same language that they use in their mission and their funding objectives. Next, highlight your impact. One of the most compelling aspects of any proposal is the focus on outcomes and impact. Funders want to know that their investment will make a difference, so it's important to demonstrate how your nonprofit's work will directly contribute to positive, measurable results. So, for example, instead of saying, we will provide after-school tutoring for children, reframe it to focus on the impact. And listen for the difference here. We will improve the reading scores of 100 at-risk children by 30% over the course of the school year, helping them achieve grade level proficiency in literacy. You have painted a picture of what you're going to do. And here's a tip. Funders are less interested in what activities you'll conduct and more interested in what outcomes those activities will lead to. I'm going to say that again. Funders are less interested in what activities you'll conduct and more interested in what outcomes those activities will lead to. Describe the long-term impact you're achieving, such as improved graduation rates, healthier communities, or better job placement outcomes. Next, tell a story. While it's important to present data and facts, storytelling can be an effective way to make your proposal more compelling and humanize your work. Share those success stories we've talked about that illustrate the real-world impact of your programs and show how lives are being changed. So here's an example. You could say, meet Sarah, a single mother who turned her life around thanks to our job placement program. After participating, she secured full-time employment and was able to provide a better life for her children. Stories like Sarah's reflect the larger impact we seek to achieve. Here's the tip. Stories should tie back to your overall goals and help contextualize the numbers. Show how your data points are more than just statistics. They represent real people whose lives have been transformed through your program. Next, use strong action-oriented language. Funders want to see that your nonprofit is driven and effective. Use action verbs and confident language to convey that you are capable of delivering results. So, for example, instead of saying, we hope to provide meals for families, you should say, we will provide 20,000 meals to food insecure families in our community over the next year. This shows action, determination, and specificity. Make sure your proposal conveys a sense of urgency and purpose. Funders are more likely to support organizations that are proactive, results-driven, and focused on making a tangible difference. And lastly, be specific and focused. Avoid vagueness and stay focused on your main objectives. Every section of your proposal should support your overall mission and funding request. So make sure every detail is relevant to your goals and directly addresses the funder's criteria. So for example, if your goal is to reduce homelessness in your community, don't focus on unrelated programs or activities. Stay on message and align every part of your proposal with that core objective. By following these tips, being clear, concise, and impactful in your writing, you'll be able to present a strong, focused proposal that speaks directly to the funder's interests. Remember, your goal is not just to describe your work, but to convince the funder that their support will lead to meaningful, measurable outcomes. Now let's move on to our final strategy. A strong budget is one of the most important components of any grant application. Even for small organizations, it is crucial to provide a clear, realistic, and well-structured budget that shows funders exactly how their money will be used. A well-prepared budget not only supports your proposal, but also demonstrates your professionalism and the ability to manage funds responsibly. So how do you create a strong budget? First, be detailed and transparent. The more detailed and specific your budget, the more confident funders will be in your ability to manage their investment. Break your budget down into categories and clearly show how each dollar will be allocated. So instead of just saying program expenses, break it down into specific line items such as staff salaries, program materials, transportation to bring participants to events. This level of detail helps funders see exactly where their money is going and reassures them that you're being responsible with their investment. Next, show how funds will be used efficiently. Small nonprofits often need to demonstrate that they can do a lot with limited resources. Show how you will stretch every dollar to maximize impact. Funders want to see that you're efficient with your funds and committed to using their grant as effectively as possible. So for example, you could say, With this grant, we will expand our youth mentorship program by hiring 2 additional part-time mentors at a cost of $12,000, while ensuring that the remaining funds are used for participant activities, materials, and outreach efforts. This will allow us to serve an additional 50 youth while maintaining a cost-efficient program model. Here's a tip there. Avoid vague categories like miscellaneous or administrative costs. Funders want to see exactly what each dollar is doing to support the mission of the project. Next, align your budget with project goals. Make sure your budget reflects the goals of your project. Every line item should connect to your project's objectives and outcomes. This helps funders see the direct link between how the money will be spent and the results you intend to achieve. So, for example, if your goal is to provide job training for 100 individuals, your budget should include costs for training materials and curriculum development, mentor stipends, participant outreach and recruitment. This ensures that each budget item is justifiable and directly tied to your project's success. Next, demonstrate sustainability. Funders appreciate when organizations show that they're planning for the long term and they're not just dependent on one-time funding. If your organization has a strategy for maintaining the project after the grant period ends, include that information in your budget. So, for example, you could say, in addition to the requested grant, we will allocate $1,000 from our fundraising efforts to sustain the program after the grant period. This ensures that the mentorship program will continue beyond the funding cycle and grow over time. Here's a tip. Including matching grants or co-funding sources can strengthen your proposal by demonstrating that you are also investing in the project and seeking other resources. Next, show realistic costs. Avoid overestimating or underestimating costs. Funders want to see a budget that reflects the true costs of your program, not one that's artificially inflated or too low. Being realistic in your budgeting helps set expectations properly and builds credibility. So, for example, if you're applying for a grant to build a new community center, ensure that your construction estimates reflect real-world pricing and include detailed quotes from contractors. If you under-budget your construction, you could end up falling short on necessary expenses, and if you over-budget, funders might question your financial planning. Next, include in-kind contributions. In-kind contributions such as donated goods or volunteer labor are valuable and should be included in your budget. They demonstrate community support for your project and show funders that you are resourceful and creative in how you leverage resources. So, for example, you could say, in-kind donation of $2,000 worth of materials from local businesses for our community event, plus 200 volunteer hours valued at $5,000. Be sure to assign a monetary value to in-kind donations to help funders see the full picture of your project's funding needs and community backing. Lastly, be prepared for questions. Sometimes funders will ask for clarification on your budget, so make sure you're prepared to explain any assumptions or unusual line items. Having a well-documented rationale behind each expense can make a big difference. So, for example, if your budget includes a travel expense that seems unusually high, be prepared to explain the costs, such as this travel includes 2 round-trip flights to meet our stakeholders in other cities, which is crucial for building partnerships. A well-thought-out budget demonstrates your nonprofit's capacity to manage and allocate funds effectively, which builds trust with funders. It shows them that you're serious about your project and capable of handling their investment responsibly. A strong budget is a key differentiator in any grant proposal, so make sure yours is clear, realistic, and directly tied to your project's success. Now, let's move on to your questions. All right. We have covered a lot of important strategies today, and now it's time to open the floor for your questions. I would love to hear your thoughts, dive deeper into any of the strategies that we talked about today. Whether you're struggling with a particular aspect of grant writing, need advice, tailoring your proposals, any questions about the budgets, now is the time to ask. use the Q&A function that's up there. You can drop it in the chat as well. I'll keep an eye on both of them. But, grant writing can really feel overwhelming. But remember, the goal is to be clear, focused, and strategic on how you present your organization's strengths. So I'm here to help you navigate through these challenges. Stick around after the Q&A. I've got that free instant download as well. Doesn't look like we have any questions. I've got some here that we usually get with this topic that I'm happy to share to maybe help jumpstart some conversation. But one of the ones that we get often is, what are some common mistakes you see nonprofits make in their proposals that can hurt their chances of being funded? So one of the things that we see a lot that I think prevents nonprofits from getting their requests funded are vague budgets. Things that a grant maker might look at and raise an eyebrow. Going back to that, if you've got a really big line item, that you need to explain it. We worked with an organization that was based here in the United States, but all their work was done overseas. So they were traveling to another continent on a regular basis. So that travel line item was significantly more than, say, a local food pantry's travel line item would be. So we needed to explain that in a budget narrative. Also, one of the things that we see is not talking about outcomes, talking more about this is what we do instead of this is what happens as a result of what we do. And so, you can put 4 homeless shelters next to each other, and if they just tell you what they do, they all 4 sound the same, right? But each one of them can have a different type of impact based on those outcomes. So that's how you differentiate yourself in the crowd, is with those outcomes. And then lastly, ignoring the funder's priorities. If you're just like, hey, we're going to put a check in this box and send them this application, a broken clock is right twice a day, but it's not likely that you're going to get funded with that approach. Let's see, Samantha, as far as in-kind donations, would you include only outside volunteers, or would you include the time salary of the ED who isn't paid yet? If your executive director is not paid yet, he or she is a volunteer. So yes, that may be on a case-by-case basis as well, looking specifically at your budget. But you may want to allocate that executive director's volunteer in-kind donation into various places. So like, how much administrative work does he or she do? How much program work does he or she do to really break that down and paint the accurate picture? Oftentimes, if that person is the only staff, they're doing everything. But yes, if they're not paid, they're still a volunteer. Christy says, what are volunteer participation rates? Volunteer participation rates would be, we have, our volunteers tend to come back. Our volunteers tend to stick with us for 2, 3, 5 years. We have a 100% volunteer participation rate once someone is onboarded with us. So that shows the longevity and the commitment to your mission. So if somebody came on board with you and they've been around for the duration of your existence, that's great. That means that you are engaging them. They are, working well for you. And that shows, it shows that less kind of transactional volunteer experience that can happen with larger organizations. You think about, you might go build a house for Habitat for Humanity with your employer on a Saturday and then never do it again. And so their volunteer participation rates, they may have a lot of volunteers, but are those people coming back time after time? That's high value for a smaller nonprofit to be able to say our volunteers are coming back over and over again. Teresa says, would you recommend showing measurable impact if your organization was developed to fund research, which does not get immediate results? So there's a totally different approach there. When you are not funding, those direct, or not funding, when you're not asking for funding for those direct human services type of missions. So you'd have to take that may be a conversation we have together, Teresa, to talk that through. But it is different. Your impact is going to be different as far as, what your intent is for your organization. We'll talk about that one. Does the structure of crafting proposals change when engaging with elected officials like alder people or community supervisors? What should be prioritized? So that is not my area of expertise. I am exclusively working with private foundations, corporations, and, federal apps and state apps. But if you are submitting those applications to those people directly, I would just kind of follow the same guidelines in what it is their priorities are. What are they trying to accomplish? At the end of the day, knowing who your audience is and what they want out of that engagement is really critical with writing really any sort of persuasive document, which a grant application is at the end of the day. So educating yourself on what they're trying to accomplish, if they're wanting to build bike paths in your historic downtown, and that's something that you can partner with them on, showing them what makes you unique, makes you qualified to do that. I think you're still going to be using the same sort of mentality and framework that we talked about here. All right. Well, let me jump over to the chat. Looks like we might have another few questions over here. Capacity building grants. Capacity building grants are great. I've had a couple questions about those today. Jan, not just small, we're tiny. I know there's so many nonprofits that are in the same situation, and capacity building grants can really be a game changer. I'm actually working on one right now for an organization in California. Typically funders that fund capacity building grants understand that they fill a gap for small and tiny, as you say, nonprofits. It's unlikely that they're going to be getting applications from the American Red Cross for capacity buildings. They just don't need it. So they're going to be expecting applications from organizations that need to grow. You need to be able to show in your application that there's backing for your growth, right? It's not just, hey, we want to do this. We need to do this. So one of the ways that we are doing that in the application that I'm working on this week is showing the gap, right? So we're, working with the school systems to talk about, at-risk students. And, here's what the school system says defines at-risk students at. Here's their number that they say they have enrolled that they would consider to fall underneath that definition. And then here's what we're able to serve now. If we could add staff and your grant could help us do that, we could serve 30% more of these students or 50% more of these students. So that's really how you have to frame it, and not just hey, we want a building, or hey, that'd be a capital S, but hey, we want to add staff to our team. You've got to be able to back it up. Carol, small nonprofits is going to be kind of one of those gray areas of grant writing. How do I define small nonprofits? I don't know that there's kind of an industry terminology. For Just Right grants, we typically consider a lot of things. Annual budget, but that can itself be different from one organization to another. One organization may want to grow above $250,000 annual budget. One organization might be really comfortable at $100,000 annual budget. Smaller team, you might have 1 or 2 paid employees. You may have no paid employees yet. So if you feel small, that's your definition, I think. We work with organizations. Typically, we find that organizations that have 3 years or so of experience under their belt with their program work, they have a strong case for support. They've got those stories and the data that we talked about throughout, are in a good place to start grant writing. But there's plenty of things that you can do if you're not at that point yet. And it's not impossible to get grants. I hope I've reiterated that through this presentation today, but it's not impossible to get grants before you're there. Coach Janine, any checklist to get the client ready? Do you mean like a nonprofit client? Shoot me a message, individual message, and we can talk about that one. All right, great. So thank you all so much for participating in the Q&A so well. I love thinking and talking off the cuff. So now that we've learned our key strategies and to help your small nonprofit compete with larger organizations in grant writing, I've got some immediate action steps for you to take now that will help put these ideas into practice. First, I encourage you to craft your unique story. Start by writing a short, compelling impact statement, think 1 to 2 paragraphs, that highlights your nonprofit's mission, the problem you're solving, and a real-life success story. Gather testimonials from beneficiaries, volunteers, community members to add emotional depth to your proposals. And develop a Why Us document. This will clearly define what sets your nonprofit apart from larger organizations. Next, strengthen your community relationships. Collect at least 3 success stories or testimonials that demonstrate your nonprofit's deep local impact. Gather community support letters from beneficiaries, partners, or local leaders to include in your future grant applications. And engage with your audience by conducting a short survey or hosting a feedback session. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, to better understand your nonprofit's community perception and needs. Thirdly, build partnerships and collaborations. Identify at least 2 potential partner organizations, think local businesses, schools, or other nonprofits, and reach out to them to discuss possible collaboration opportunities. Explore co-applying for a grant with a partner organization to strengthen your proposal. That's a really key, going back to the question earlier about, what do you do if you're new? That's a great way to sort of wedge your foot in the door with grant writing if you're new, is to partner, co-apply. Find an organization that has established history with grants, has that credibility. It helps build your credit worthiness in the grant world, and co-apply, but do it in a way that makes sense, something that they do complements something that you do and vice versa. Find a funder that aligns with that, and then co-apply. And when you secure those funds, then all of a sudden, right, you're not new to grant writing anymore, right? You've got this support. And so that'll open doors for you a little bit faster than waiting till you get to that 3-year point and doing it all on your own. And then also draft a memorandum of understanding, or sometimes called MOUs, and outline the roles and responsibilities in your new partnerships, making it easier to formalize those collaborations when applying for grants. Next, focus on your transparency and data. Start a simple impact tracking system, even if it's just a spreadsheet, to document key program outcomes such as people served, improvements seen, or testimonials received. Identify at least 3 meaningful metrics that reflect your nonprofit's impact and start collecting data consistently. And then create an impact snapshot. Just a 1-page document with data and visuals. You could probably pull an awesome template off Canva that can be included in your grant applications or your donor outreach. And lastly, align your proposals with funder priorities. Research at least 3 potential funders and analyze how your mission aligns with your nonprofit's work. Customize a grant proposal template that highlights how your organization's mission and programs directly support funder goals. If you signed up for our grant writing bootcamp, you have a sample grant proposal template to help you get started today. And then lastly, prepare a funding fit checklist to ensure each grant opportunity aligns with your nonprofit's strengths and impact areas before applying. By taking these small but meaningful steps, you'll set your nonprofit up for long-term success in grant writing. So you can start today, get that download right there of our free grant writing success checklist for nonprofits, and watch how these action items help you stand out and secure the funding that your nonprofit deserves. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. I hope that the strategies that we discussed will help you navigate the competitive grant writing landscape and set your nonprofit up for success. I am excited for you to apply these tips and watch your proposals stand out from the crowd. If you need further assistance, if I didn't get to your question today, or you let all of this information sort of marinate and you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Just Right Grants is here to support you, and we are passionate about helping nonprofits thrive. Whether you need guidance on crafting compelling narratives, building that strong budget, or tailoring your proposal to funders, we are always happy to offer our expertise. Additionally, I would love to stay connected with you and help you continue growing in your grant writing efforts. Please consider signing up for our e-newsletter, where we share announcements about future free webinars, helpful resources, and tips to help keep you on track with your grant applications. You can also follow us on social media to stay updated with all things grant writing and nonprofit success. Good luck with your grant applications. I look forward to hearing about all of your successes, and I am here whenever you need future further support. Let's make great things happen together. Thank you so much again for joining me. I look forward to seeing you in our next webinar. Have a wonderful day.